We end this series where it began, straight on Kaneki. He is the strongest built character on the show, and episode 12 does indeed deserve a lot of credit. In the episode leading up to the final, we're introduced into Toka's brother, out of nowhere in a handful of uninteresting doves. And an overpowered Mary Sue, a young boy, who I'm not even going to bother to learn the name of. Quite frankly, the show painted itself into a corner. I totally understand why the show has to be rebooted, if I am to believe rumors. Kaneki's character dies in this episode. It's not to say that he's not breathing and still moving around, but everything that made the character till now is gone. I feel the way that which they did it is very satisfying, with the abundant torture and inner reflection that he's forced to have. But where would the show go from here? How would this emotionally dead Kaneki ever be around Hyde or Himiko? I saw this final and I found it satisfying because it literally abandons all the retarded brand new characters that the show slapped on without fleshing out. The last interesting thing that was on this show before the final was Mono dying. And while the show managed to portray Mono as fun, they never really managed to explain why he had a searing hatred for the ghouls. The show kept taunting there's going to be this big moment where Kaneki would bridge the gap between ghouls and humans. And in the end, all he does is die inside. When I say this is satisfying, it's not because it's the ending I wanted, but it's spun in a very believable manner, all things considered. Kaneki's mom working herself into the ground, trying to save her sister, and dying, portraying the world we live in as ugly and predatorial that will kill us if we let it. If Season 2 Kaneki begins dead inside, I'll understand. It'll be set up perfectly between the physical and mental torture, and the journey I've seen fleshed out. Unfortunately, that's the end of the praise. The doctor who gave Lady Reizu's organs to Kaneki is mentioned in the last episode, as if the whole procedure had been planned out since episode 1. That same character who died in the first half of the season. Like the writers didn't know how to put a backstory onto him, or even develop one. I could go on. I could go up and down on how I found a lot of characters disappointing in the end. Tasakiyama is brought back at the tail end of the show to bust out Kaneki and basically loses everything that made him fun. Had the show carried on, I still think he could have been interesting. At least I hope. If the show wasn't going to continue from here, I find it kind of troublesome that they brought him back for no other reason than the fan pander. Nishao's face turn has meant shit since episode 6. I mean, he came along to rescue Kaneki, but then nothing. He went from a formulaic bully, which by the way I was perfectly fine with, to a complete empty shell. Amon, whose only interesting moments in the show are remembering his dead partner Mono, which basically just reminds us the wrong one died. Lady Reizu's death is never fully explained, even though it's heavily hinted at there's some greater scheme at work of having her killed, that her powers are special. And that's it! Yoshimaru, the leader of the Sector 20 ghouls, is never given a backstory at all, or any kind of flashback explaining why he's chosen a life of peace. Ironically enough, Jason's character is perfectly developed. It's explained that he's a ghoul and he's been twisted from severe torture, and it's why he respects power. I'm sure a lot of this is fleshed out better in the manga, but I shouldn't have to go read the manga to go watch the anime. Araguri tree? I'm just gonna call it A tree. As it stands, just feels like it's slapped on as a protagonist, at least as far as this season goes. As much as I'm railing about how the season wrapped up, I really did like the season's final and how the show began out. I've kinda taken peeks at some of the spoilers for season 2, and it seems that they're not rebooting. I don't know what to believe. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. See you there.